Howdy, my name's Circa Witt, and I am a student in the UAT lab here at Mississippi State University, and I work with the laser cutter here at the UAT lab, and I just wanted to create a quick tutorial about how to actually get your design from screen to laser cutter. Laser cutter is an extremely wonderful tool. It is intimidating to say the least, but once you understand how it works, the process is far less intimidating and actually very fruitful with your mock-ups and your designs. So let's jump straight into it. First, I need to tell you that the overall process of actually using the laser cutter is what I like to do is break it up in three different parts. You have your Illustrator that is on your computer, the newest version. You have Illustrator that's on the computer that's hooked up to laser cutter, which is using CS3, and then you have the actual laser cutter itself. So what do we need to do? Well, I like to, whenever I'm done with creating my design for whatever, for a screen or for a t-shirt or whatever, I like to pull it into a separate file that is used for the actual laser cutter. So we're looking at this, and I have just a document, the new document page up. So what I like to do is I like to make the dimensions the exact same as the table. This reduces the amount of error, and this allows you to kind of get an understanding of how big or how small your design is. So the dimensions of the table is 24 inches by 12 inches. And once you have that, you're good. That's the dimension of the table. But you also want to make sure this thing is set to RGB color, not CMYK, RGB. And I'll explain later. And also your raster effect needs to be set to high or 300 ppi. So I already have a design ready to go to kind of go through this demonstration. And it's a simple design. It's a design. I'm not saying it's good. It's a design. So how do we get it from this screen to the laser cutter? Well, first of all, we need to figure out whether we want to etch it or cut it. What I wanted to do is I want to etch these two lines and the triangle and cut out the square and the star. So that's going to leave me with a little star missing, but also having a nice, neat square. So what we need to do is we need to make sure that everything is set to fill. No cutting, and I'll explain later. But if we want to etch it, we need to set this thing to fill. So you notice that these lines are strokes. Not fill, they're strokes. So what do? Well, we need to make sure that these things are set to fill. So what I can do is I can hover all of this and say, okay, have different colors for different things. So we have the question mark for the fill and the question mark for the stroke. What we can do is we can go to object. We can do really two things. Sometimes people like to do join. I don't necessarily like to do that sometimes. But what I like to do, and this is almost essential, or it is essential, is go to path and go to outline stroke. This is going to make sure everything that's within this is all fill and no stroke. And it is finicky sometimes, so sometimes if you go through it and it doesn't look right, just go in and make sure you work out different ways of making your lines fill. And it's just a little bit of trial and error, but for the most part, these are ready to be filled. This, I want to make sure that it is a stroke for cutting, and this is set. Yes, so both of those are set. But what do we do here? Okay, so the next step is converting your fills and your layers to the appropriate thing. So if we want to etch it, the computer and the laser cutter sees etching as needs to be 100% 255 blue, and needs to see it as the fill. So what we're going to do is we're going to, on this layer, we're going to, grab all of this. Remember, be fully selected. Then we're going to come over here to the color, open it up, and you'll notice that you're going to see RGB. We're going to make sure this R is 0, this green is 0, but this blue is 255. This is just to make sure that it's completely consistent. Sometimes if you don't have it set up to where it's a pure 255, it can get a little bit dicey with if it's going to be consistent. But if you want a consistent etch or cut, it has to be a pure blue and pure 255. So we're going to hit OK. So this is going to etch out. So we need to make sure that the star and the square are cut out. Now, I like to do a thing where the final cut, which is the square, because we want to take out the square, is the very last cut. So I'm actually going to pull it using this little handy dandy little puller, and we're going to make sure that this square is the last thing that is cut. So this star, we need to make sure it is ready to be cut. So we're going to go in here, we're going to click this. On top of it, the stroke needing to be 255 red, so we're going to do this real quick. So go to red, 255, green being 0. I totally missed that, or I didn't add that last bit. Apologies, and make the blue 002. This is going to make it, well, 100% 255 red. But it's actually too thick to be cut. So the laser cutter doesn't necessarily like how this is thick, and it'll actually try to go over a few different times, and it's going to cause your thing to catch on fire. We don't like fire around here. So to make sure it goes through one solid pass, we need to change this stroke. Now this is important to 0.123 from 0.0001. That is 3 zeros and 1 1 at the end. 0.0001 is essential, and it will make your thing very, very faint. It looks very small. Look at that. But make sure it goes through one time, and it's save you so much time in the long run. And then we're going to do the same thing for the square. Let me do that real quickly. Actually, I can just here click the eyedropper, and that applies the same settings. See, 0.0001. So, cool. We've got our design ready. It's ready to go. Now, how do we save it and actually put it into a file? Glad you asked. So, first of all, we need to go to Save As. Now, before we actually do the full setting, we're going to actually make this as a native file. So, we're going to go in and put design Design 5. Design 5. We're going to save this, and we're going to do this normally just save it, and this is our design. Now, to actually be put into the laser cutter, we need to make this into a CS3 illustrated file. So we're going to go here, go back to Save As, click this. It's going to bring up a normal file. Make sure this thing is distinctly CS3. So what I like to do is in front of it, CS3, underscore the name of the design, hit save. It's going to give you this text or document. Do not hit OK until you come up here to this drop box and hit CS3, and you're going to get like little warnings saying, it's legacy. It's going to look weird, but you're going to be fine. Hit OK. And it's going to give you another dialog to make sure, you're fine, whatever. Hit OK. And there is your design. So now we go to the next phase, is which we actually go into the computer. So I'll see you there.